What it do? My name is Honcho, and this is my guy.
Siriaco, y'all call me Rocco.
And this is another episode of Fourth and Fantasy, your fantasy playbook to Dynasty wins. I hope y'all are doing wonderful this Sunday evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are tuning in to us. Thank you for tapping in with us, actually, for another one of these special episodes. Like I said, the content don't stop, so neither does Fourth and Fantasy, baby. And we just had to put it out there. This or today's episode is brought to you by Fast Draft. If y'all, as y'all can see in that right hand corner, the fastest baseball game out there. If you love fantasy sports, you got to check this out. It's super quick, fun, and takes the grind out of fantasy football. Fast Draft is giving away over 2,500,000 in prizes this year with all rookie, all flex, and all defensive tournaments. The drafts are about 20 seconds per pick and wrap up in about 5 minutes. Now, you can use our promo code and sign up using FOTH or FOTH, and Fast Draft will double your first deposit up to $50. That's right, just using one of our codes, either FOTH or FOTH, like the 4x4, 4 for Wendy's, if you will. They will double your first deposit up to $50. Please visit Fast Draft and get in the game. If you will look in the left hand corner, you'll also see the QR code that will get you to the Fast Draft website, so you can either download the app, whether you have an Android or a Apple phone. Nevertheless, it's time to get started once again. We're wrapping up the series. We've done QBs, we've done running backs, we did wide receivers the last show. Now it's time to wrap up on the tight ends. Some might say this was one of the deeper tight end classes that we've seen in the relative years. And you know what? I might just have to agree with them, Rocco. And I've gotten a few shares of some of these guys, I'd have to say. Some more than others, and some not at all. But like we done with the rest of the previous videos, we'll go by round, and we're looking at the per position, and we'll see where we like these guys, short term, long term, where they can be where they're at in their rookie year. We're going to see. Nevertheless, let's start out with some. Which one? Actually, this kind of caught me off guard on draft night because I didn't see him being the first tight end taken off the board, but he came at off the board at 110, 10th overall to the Chicago Bears. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Colston Loveland. Come on down. I thought that was a little too rich for my blood. And then speaking with our good guy Angelo, who got me hip, I didn't even know he was dealing with a shoulder injury, which for me. I mean, also, I mean, if I put it this way, the Chicago still took him at 10th overall, so they said, fuck that shoulder. We feel pretty good with it. Year one, and people are like, oh, this kind of sucks because he's going, like, Cole Kmet is already there. Fuck Cole Kmet. I need y'all to hear this. Cole Kmet ain't stopping shit. All right. Now, what I will say is that offense now has more mouths to feed. You have a Luther Burden. You have a Roma Dunze. You have a DJ Moore. And now you throw Colston Loveland in there. You have a DeAndre Swift, who you would hope to still be involved in the past. Yes. Do I like Caleb Williams? Sure. I think Caleb Williams is going to actually have a better year than his year. Nevertheless, I would say. But a lot of mouths to feed. And do I want to take where you have to now? If we also had to put out, if it's like a tight end premium, I'm most likely still not selecting Loveland where you would have to, whether it's 106, 107. I think anywhere from that 107 to that 112 is where you can see in a tight end premium league is where you can see Colston Loveland coming off. That's a little bit too much rich for my blood because I like a few guys over him. But Rocco, talk to me. I know he was one of your guys coming in here. You let me know how you be feeling about Loveland, and if you have even selected him on any of your dynasty teams.
I have zero shares of Colston Loveland, and let me tell you why. Coming into the process, he was my tight end one. He really was. And then the funny thing happened. He got drafted at 10th overall, and now he's been steamed up in some places past Tyler Warren. I just saw him go at 107 in a rookie draft, and that's no bueno for me because I generally fade tight ends in the first round outside of a generational prospect like Brock
Hmm.
Bowers. But he definitely has a lot of metrics in his favor, as you can see by his 99th percentile college dominator. That's his share of the offense.
Yeah.
So when the ball moved, it went to him generally at all times. And you can see he broke out at an early age at 19 years old. So he was breaking out against older guys that he was going up against. And on film, I like his movement skills. I think at the top of his stem, he can get open. He can break his defender down and get open on a regular basis. The problem is, he got steamed up. So now a guy that was going in the uh, early second to 203 is now going late first and sometimes in the mid first. But the problem, even more than that, draft capital or draft investment that it takes is that he went to Chicago. And Chicago, I know a lot of people, have hope for a Ben Johnson revived passing attack with Caleb Williams, but we got to be real. Caleb Williams kind of face planted his first year, and Chicago is a place where passing games go to die. They've never had a 4,000-yard passer in their history, and that's for good reason because when it gets cold and that wind starts blowing, that ball does funky shit, and it's hard to have a consistent passing game there. The only avenue out of this is a dome, and I've heard different things that they would get a dome in 2027, but I just looked it up, and that's far from a done deal. So they may be playing outside for the foreseeable future. And another thing that's going against his favor right now, you're looking at a DJ Moore, who is the number one on paper. You got Roma Dunze, who was drafted in the top 10 last year and has a
Sure.
lot of talent. Um, you have Luther Burden, who was just drafted, who's
Yep.
going to play a lot of inside in the slot. Fuck Cole Komet, but I mean, the dude has 500 yards, and that's a piece of the pie you have to take into consideration. You put all that together in a busted shoulder, you probably ain't getting shit from Loveland in year one. At best, you're going to get some flashes, something to hold hope to, but you're getting nothing from him in year one. So give me the fucking running backs where he's going. I am smashing one of those top five, top six running backs. And sorry, Loveland, but where you're going is just not doable for me.
And some people had him as their tight end one. So, and there was even
I
before the
did pre-process, yeah,
the
pre-draft.
you was leading one of the hives for Coastal Loveland tight end one. I just think of overall usage and what could be had, there just in their rookie years. I think Colston Loveland will, or excuse me, Tyler Warren, they will find more ways to get him the ball and can be used in different ways to get the ball. What I still like about Colston Loveland is that relatively he is a good route runner at the tight end position. So he can be a
Hmm.
more mismatch in that middle. But would you believe me if I told you that Chicago was 13th in pass attempts? in the NFL. So they were a little bit above, a little bit above in that above the middle when it comes to pass attempts. Nevertheless, still didn't even have 4,000 passing yards.
I was just about to say that 13th in passing in passing attempts got Caleb Williams 3,500 yards. So
Yes, and
yeah.
then if we look at the Houston Texans, who had looks like four more attempts. Texans had literally 3,952. Broncos, kind of when I'm looking at it, and now I had to go back because I'm looking at the New York Giants, and they had one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. They were ninth in pass attempts, and they only had 3,500 passing yards. That's not
well,
good,
they,
y'all.
well, they
That's
had Daniel Jones throwing the ball. So
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
That's not sexy. But if you're, but like to that point though, when we're looking at in those type of numbers, when you're in that realm of passing attempts, you would hope to get 4,000. Dolphins have
Hmm.
591. They have 4,000. Seahawks 593. They have 4,000. Only the Browns, like Browns, threw the ball 661 times and did not break 4,000 passing yards on the season. That's how you know shit is bad. That's how you know shit is bad. But do I think long term, short term wise, you might be a little fucked if you like Colson Leather and think that that's going to be what I don't see a top 10 year from Colston Loveland. I don't even see a top 15 year from Colston Loveland.
Hmm.
Long term wise, though, I don't see DJ Moore in Chicago for a long time. He's had his frustrations with the organization, and well, I won't say organization, but his role in the offense and how much he's getting the ball. And then you still have Luther Burden. I think he'll since he wasn't selected in the first round, he's only gonna have a 4 year contract, so he'll be a mouth to
There's an
feed.
early second, right?
Yeah, he'll be a mouth to feed there. DeAndre Swift is still gonna be in the passing game, but once again, he's not always gonna be there. So long term wise, I could see, and it also depends on that shoulder health. Can that stay good and you
I
know
mean, they must have liked it if they drafted him in the top 10. I mean, they must have a plan for it. I mean, I don't think they could be overly concerned with the shoulder.
prepare? And then
Taking him in the top 10.
yeah,
I mean,
and
that
then
would just be irresponsible.
And then after you, I mean, shit, I feel like they just didn't they just pay Cole Kmet about 2 years ago. So it's
He's a rock solid tight end. I mean, he's just in a shit passing attack. So I think he's definitely somebody we can maybe once once Loveland starts to get some reps, I think we can actually see he may be a trade candidate as well because I think he may flourish on a different type of team.
no to my favorite. You know how I was rocking behind this guy.
What,
You know how I was.
one second, I just want to give
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys a pro tip. Instead of lighting that late first on fire and taking Loveland, let somebody else take him. And when they get frustrated by year one, no production, send them a future second
I'm
and
gonna
let
be
them sit
honest
on
with
your
you.
tax.
I just can't. Man, it's not, and I don't want to put it out there that I think that Loveland is a bad prospect. Actually, I don't
I
want
like Loveland.
Yeah, I don't want that picture out there of like, hey, I'm not selecting him because I think that he's garbage. No, I don't think that actually at all. I think where he can be had, I would much rather have different guys. Just for me though, like uh, I'm gonna share this one. Colston Loveland, and this is from Player Profiler. Shout out to y'all. They tweeted out the top tight end college target shares since 2022. At that top of the list was Trey McBride at 45.3, Harold Fannon Jr. second, 37.2, but Colston Loveland 36.3 third. This is a good group of guys to be with, I believe. And then with Trey McBride being that's a absolute crazy number, 45.3. That just tells you how dominant that man was in college. And now that we're seeing that in the NFL, I could see Loveland having some, not this year, but relatively some type of that same career arc. We got to remember, even Trey McBride didn't come in the NFL, you know, dominating. Yes, and why is that? Because he was behind Zach Ertz. I think people play Zach Ertz a little bit or downplay Zach Ertz too much.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're like, oh, and that's why I've been selecting him in my startups, in my in because even in that 18 round, 17 round, 19 round turn, he is still there, and I still think he can have a productive year. He's one of the most underrated guys I think that you can get at the position, but Colston Loveland, no, he's going to be a part of that Chicago offense. He might not have the piece of the pie, might not be the greatest this year, but year two, year three, I think you could see him take a fairly good jump there. To our second guy who went 4 picks after Loveland, who I thought would come off the board before him. Tyler Warren came off 14 overall to the Indianapolis Colts. I felt like that landing spot was charted several times that we saw throughout the offseason. He's been my tight end one since the first game I watched of him, just due to the who if you looked at some of the clips, like you can use them in so many different ways. I think personally he has that my ball mentality. He's Him and Loveland are relatively the same size. I say that Loveland is a more fluid athlete, to where I think Tyler Warren gives you more after the catch and at the catch point than
Mm-hmm.
Loveland. And then on that same post that I just showed what the top tight end college share since 2022, Loveland was third at 36.3, but Tyler Warren was fifth at 31.4. So no, shoot, I think I've selected him. And once again, I haven't been going crazy with tight ends. This I have to admit, haven't been going crazy just because where you have to
Mm-hmm.
draft. I like different guys, but I have more shares of Tyler Warren than I do of Loveland, and I've gotten him anywhere between that. Depends on the size of uh, the league, whether it's 10 team, 12. Well, I don't really do 10, but 12 or 14. I've gotten him at that 108 to 112 mark, where I pulled the trigger of where I needed the help of a tight end. I don't really draft on needs, but I felt like one, it fit a need, and also two, just because of the tight end premium, it was a good value of where I was selecting him. But
Mm-hmm.
you know how you feel about about my guy Tyler Warren.
Yeah, I was mostly fading him early in the process, but I've kind of come around just a little bit more on him.
Mm,
My biggest gripe uh, from analytical profile is that he is what a fifth year breakout and really didn't do like anything at all, as evidenced by his 40th percentile breakout age. But his season was just so dominant, and there were factors that held him back. Namely, there were quite a few NFL guys. I mean, they really haven't done much with their careers, but they did make it to the NFL, so you can't really discount that. I would have liked to see him do anything up until this previous year, but um, yeah, like our guy Angelo said, this guy landed in a perfect opportunity, and he could push for number one target on the Colts because he is something they sorely need. They've been going out and trying to find a guy like him for years, but all of the different various guys they brought in, none of them were really stuck, and none of them been good enough to fill that role. But if Anthony Richardson's gonna ever break out, it's going to be in big part with Tyler Warren being just um, like my guy Ray GQ says, just an easy button in the middle of the field, a guy that he can spam, he can go to when times are hard, and he's going to be a big giant target for him in the middle of the field. And when he catches it, he can do something with it. Um, what I like about him is, according to PFF, he's second in missed forced tackles. Um, and also, he's got a very receiver-like yards per route run at 2.78 in this previous year, and that's a really good barometer of a guy that can break out. I mean, he was, he did a lot with the targets that he did get, and just from a raw numbers perspective, the guy had 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. Um, he was damn good on contested catches, 61% in
Dog.
contested catch situations.
Hmm.
So I mean, any way you slice it, um, the guy's profile, if you just look at his senior year, it's tops or nearly top in almost every category you can look at. So um, yeah, hopefully he's the guy that can bring my guy Anthony Richardson out the dumps, because if they go with Daniel Jones, what they're saying to their fans is that they're really trying for Arch Manning, Lenora Sellers, or Garrett Nussmeier. So um, Tyler Warren has an open runway. He can be a tight end one in year one, and that's a big reason why he's going to jump Loveland in my personal rankings. I talked shit about him. I said I wasn't going to have any shares, but it seems like the crazy thing to me is the most likely thing to happen. He's been mocked to the Colts since we started making mock drafts.
Yeah.
He goes to the Colts, and now he's gone from a mid first, and now I see him going in the late first. Sometimes I even in a home league, I just saw him go at 2.1, and I'm smashing right there because these guys don't grow on trees. A guy that could be a tight end one in year one and continue to grow from that. I mean, he's got a lot of experience, and he's got the profile. I mean, look at his speed scores.
Is
He
it?
has some athleticism to go with, those senior year numbers. So, yeah, I'm coming around on him. Our guy Angelo, he completely talked me into it, and I have a Bayesian process. I can be talked into people if you make a good case. I went back and thought on it, and yeah, I'm cool with taking him in the late first. I'm probably still gonna like 50-50 with some of the running backs because I just love the running backs right there. But yeah, I have a share and I'm happy with it.
Now I've seen, and this is a very rare league because not that many people go this high with tight end premiums. But this is, I'm trying to remember if this is a three. I know it's either a 3 point tight end premium or a 4 point tight end premium. Whereas Bowers last year had over 500 fantasy. So uh,
God.
yeah, I'm telling you. So in that league, Tyler Warren went 103 just because of how nuts scoring is for tight ends.
Hmm.
I think, well, like you touched on it, it's going to do wonders for Anthony Richardson, and we've already seen him throwing this offseason. He got some new goggles on. I think that might have been what done unlock the sauce.
Lenore style.
No, so let us find out that the man couldn't see and he was just bombing them bitches downfield. Let us find out that Anthony Richardson really was just going he was
Hey,
handicapped on y'all.
my boy been throwing the good bombs. It's the short and intermediate stuff that gets him in trouble.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see a different Anthony Richardson, and also he'll have an even bigger target. And I think one thing that people don't speak on enough when it comes to Anthony Richardson was the amount of drops he had to deal with. Yes, were there throws that he should have completed, or did he have tough time completing the easy throws? Yes. And does he need to be more accurate? Yes. Does he need better footwork? Yes. But there was times where he was just dropping the motherfuckers in the bread basket, and
Yeah,
and the wide receivers or tight ends were just dropping that shit. So
yeah. I mean, Michael Pittman played with a broken back last year, so when your supposed wide receiver one coming into the season is a shell of himself. Those kind of things can happen.
now our third tight end that went off the board in the second round. So we're wrapping up the first round tight ends of Loveland and Tyler Warren. We had the first tight end come off in the second round at 10th overall. Mason Taylor from LSU, Jason Taylor's son, Hall of Famer, Miami Dolphins. And I've actually have scooped up Taylor quite a bit. I think he behind Fannon, who we would get
Hmm.
into. I think Mason Taylor might be my second most added tight end or drafted tight end throughout my drafts. And what I like about him is one, he's a good athlete. I like him, and then two, I think he looked really good last year for LSU. Whether it's he is an adequate blocker, not the greatest, but he doesn't suck at it. I think he's actually above average as a blocker. But I also think we go back and we look at him performing in the Senior Bowl, he was really putting it to some guys where they were having trouble keeping up with Mason. I think as a route runner, he's very underrated in that realm of things, and is looking he's going to be the starter for the New York Jets. And it kind of depends on how you feel about that overall offense. You might not be too high on it just because proven you have a new head coach. Things just didn't gel really last year, and who do they really have outside of Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson? Now you think Mason Taylor in there, and I think this actually makes him a pretty good option to get on your dynasty team because he's going to be part of the offense. He's actually one of the better movers, if we're being of the tight
Hmm.
honestly with a few
Oh, my bad. The dog's going crazy. Somebody must be outside.
Mason Taylor is one of the most underrated guys, if I'm being honest. And if we're looking at it, I think he ran what a four.
He ran a 4.74, so not the fastest athlete.
Not
59th percentile, 66th percentile speed score. So I'm not sure he tested that well. His college dominator is lacking. He had 1.2. Kind of looking at it right here. He had 1.23 yards per route run, so not the best statistical or analytical profile. Um, but he is slated for targets. I wouldn't say he's the guy I'm targeting, but I can see the case for it. I have a share, a just in case share. Um,
yeah, he's
some
in a just in
some
case share.
sometimes, yeah, I always get a just in case. I mean, I'm a portfolio player, so my fade is like I'll have like one or two shares,
Mm.
um, basically out of fucking 30 leagues. But there's other guys in that range that I'm more of a fan of. He's been kind of steamed up, like he sometimes he'll sneak into that mid second round firewall, which I'm cool with. Like if I'm like past the mid second, you're taking Mason Taylor. I'm like fuck yeah, now I'm gonna get a Jack Beck. I'm gonna get a guy of that ilk. I'm gonna I'm gonna get me another Jalen Milgram. You
Mm.
know, guys in that range, I know are gonna slide with to me once Mason Taylor goes because I'm just a fan of some of the other tight ends that were drafted after him. But I definitely get the case.
I it really depends on how my team is set up, to be honest with you. Because if I need a starter for my tight end spot, that's when I start to think of Mason Taylor. I think out of the when you look at Colston Loveland, when you look at Tyler
Hmm.
Warren, when you look at Terrence Ferguson, Elijah Arijo, Harold Fannon Jr., those guys, I could see Mason Taylor having the second productive rookie year under Tyler Warren. I could see a world where Mason Taylor. I could even see a world where Mason Taylor is the most productive year. I'm not talking about career. I'm talking about in their rookie year, year one.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mason Taylor is the most productive tight end, just off of he doesn't have much competition behind him. He comes in as a rookie as the starter. Same goes with Tyler Warren. Colson Loveland, he has Cole Kmet and also got speed. And then you got Terrence Ferguson, who I will say is another guy I've acquired quite a bit, but he's also behind what's his Allen Davis Allen, and he's behind Parkinson and also Higby. If you even throw that, if it,
You you're using that word. I don't think you're using that word behind right because I mean he was drafted as a second round tight end by one of the best drafting teams in
you're
the
right,
entire
you're right.
NFL landscape. I mean, they mine great talent in the third, in the fourth and fifth round. So, I mean, they made a statement by taking Ferguson in the second round.
Hmm.
So, he's a guy that I am getting on a lot of teams. Um, I mean, we could jump into Ferguson if we're ready. I'm basically, folks. I'm basically
Hold on, I got a chart to show for. Okay, actually, yeah, we can hop into Ferguson, and
all right. What we
this is
got?
this is also from Gridiron Grading. It gives the top 10 tight end athleticism scores from the 2025 draft. And who do we have in that top five? Mr. Terrence Ferguson himself at 91.8. And let the people know how you be feeling about Terrence Ferguson.
All right, yeah, I really like Ferguson. He's probably one of my most owned rookies. I'm just smashing Ferguson in the mid to late second round. I'm just
Hmm.
doing that over and over again, and for good reason. Let me just kind of share this here. This is a beautiful fucking chart from our friends at Player Profiler. Look at that. See scraping the ceiling on pretty much everything you can do with athleticism except for the agility because he didn't do those tests because maybe he's not the most agile guys, or just guys just don't really do agility drills anymore. It's very rare that you see any of the skill position players just do agilities at all,
Hmm.
unless they know they're just fucking awesome at agility testing. But 86 percentile 40, 87th percentile speed score, 94th percentile burst score, which is the broad and the vert, and a 90th percentile catch radius. So I mean, he has real athleticism, and we all know, or we should know, that athleticism is the biggest key that we look for with tight ends. Most of the top tight ends in the league um, are just the best athletes at their positions. Um, George Kittle, Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelsey. I mean, the list goes on and on.
You can look at you can
There's
even
not many subpar athletes that really broke out hard at the tight end position.
and
Uh,
and if you
maybe Antonio Gates, but
I was
but
gonna
there
say
ain't many of them.
he was still he was a college basketball player. He was still athletic. Tony Gonzalez, still athletic. Another college.
Hmm.
No, so it is a pretty. Oh, Rob Gronkowski, pretty athletic. So it was.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. So and I watched some tape on him. You're the tape guy, but I do dabble in tape, and what I saw on tape was a willing blocker, and a guy that can do stuff after the catch. So he's not just an athletic guy; he's a football player. Um, and I just can't get past the narrative. Like I'm a big narrative guy, and he was drafted in the second round to a team that has a bunch of bums at tight end right now.
Hurts
To
my
a
soul. You
team
know?
to a team that you know their rookies break out generally, and they break out early. Look at some of their other skill position players that they've taken. So when you got basically the second most tight end in the class going to a team like the Rams, I perk up and pay attention. So yeah, he's a guy that I'm getting a lot of. What are your thoughts?
I like Terrence Ferguson. Why have I been selecting Terrence Ferguson? One is due to his athleticism. And then another point that you touched on was that he did go in the second round for a team led by Sean McVay, one of the more creative play callers in the league. And then you look at that overall offense, what they were able to do over the offseason. They added Devontae Adams. They have a Puka. You have Kyron Williams. You throw Hunter in there to go with Corum. And then if Matthew Stafford they can keep Matthew Stafford upright. This offense is looking like a 2-1. I'm going to tell you now. I think where they could eventually end up going into, if we're being from Terrence Ferguson, I think I've selected him anywhere between that late second to early third, to where he's been routinely, and depends on how somebody feels about him. He's been routinely, I could say, uh, Lovelin's always been gone, Warren's gone. Mason Taylor, excuse me, Mason Taylor typically goes before Terrence Ferguson, and I think him and Arijo kind of go back and forth, switch out depending on where someone selects him. I have got him in a few leagues where I don't theoretically need a starter at tight end,
Mm-hmm.
but I am looking at somebody to whether a tight end two who can perform that role for me and can eventually ascend to my tight end one if I
Mm-hmm.
needed to. So I think off his rookie year, Terrence, because a lot of things can happen. I think McVay is one of those people. What have you done for me lately? Type shit. So if I think Ferguson could easily come in here and end up winning that start. That's one. He has a draft capital behind it, and if he really goes on the field and outperforms these guys, he can jump into he can jump into he can jump in that realm of guys like Warren, guys like Taylor, who I think could produce
Mm-hmm.
in their rookie year. But let's hit a good middle spot before we go into I think two more guys that I believe would be relative to speak about, and then we could even jump into some sleepers that we have picked up, whether it's later in our rookie drafts or on waivers. But like we said at the beginning of today's episode, it is brought to you by Fast Draft, the fastest best ball game out there. And if you would like to double your first deposit on that wonderful platform, all you have to do is use our promo code fourth, and Fast Draft will double your first time deposit on the app. Once again, using our promo code fourth, and they will double your first deposit. Now, Rocco, hear me out. I haven't gotten much of this next guy, but he also went in the second round, 18th overall. Elijah Arijo, if I'm saying that correctly. Uh,
Arroyo.
Arroyo, that's what I thought I was fucking up. Elijah Arroyo
Got to roll those R's.
out of the University of Miami. He went to the Seattle Seahawks, who is a athlete, to say the very least of that, and I think gives you the most explosion out of the whole tight end spot. Now he goes to a offense that just got Sam Darnold, and they still have Noah Fant.
Hmm.
Depending on how you feel about him, they have AJ Barner, who I think is an overall solid tight end himself and was just drafted last year. But Arroyo has gotten higher draft capital, and I think he brings a different element to that overall offense. I know he was one of your guys pre draft. Post draft, how are you feeling about Mr. Arroyo?
Pre-draft, I was kind of meh on him. To be honest with you, um, he was fun at the Senior Bowl. I mean, you couldn't watch Senior Bowl highlights without seeing him just burning people left and right.
Mm,
Um, but you knew he was super athletic, and that bore out with his testing. Um, and also he has an elite 93rd percentile college yards per route run. Um, but some of the other things that I didn't like about him, um, the college dominator wasn't great. 42nd percentile breakout age wasn't great. I know you've kind of poo-pooed on the breakout age, but it's still something to kind of look at. You know, you want to conceptualize why. Um, but the thing that hurt his stock in my eyes is actually the tape. I saw a guy that was schemed wide open and he can do amazing things, but every time there was somebody near him, it seemed like he couldn't complete the catch. For whatever reason, it just seemed like he was not able to do anything in contested catches. And our guy, Dynasty Dog Mike, who will be a future guest, kind of dispelled some of this. He said that he was actually at the Senior Bowl and gave us some good tips to actually get down there. So, you know, uh, he's a wealth of knowledge, and he was actually on site, and he said that the coaches actually put him in a lot of those situations, and he did really well down at the Senior Bowl.
mm.
Um, but also, those are kind of one-on-one situations, and um, they look great when you're out there, but I don't know uh, how that's gonna, portray into the NFL. So he's a guy I have interest in. I do have a few shares when he slides, and in some 3-round drafts, he's gone undrafted. So, I am aggressive on waivers, with a guy with that athleticism, because as we already spoke about, athleticism is one of the key factors and one of the key things that you should be looking at for tight ends. So I do have some interest, but he's not my top guy. So I will, pick him up and stash him on taxi squad if the price is right. It's always a price. It's always the price with me. So
Of course.
um, I'm not totally shitting on him as a prospect. He's just not, at the top of the list for me.
Yeah, I would have to say the same on my end, where I am. If he go, well, I haven't really seen him go undrafted in any of the drafts that
In
I've
some
done.
third and some 3-round drafts, he's
Rounds,
gone
yes,
undrafted
yeah,
for me.
yeah, 3 rounds for sure.
Love 3-round drafts.
If
Just
it's a fourth
smash
round,
waivers.
yeah, fourth round, he's getting selected up, picked up. I've even seen Ferguson in 3 rounds make it to waivers. And if that's the case, spend all your goddamn fab. You know what I mean?
All of it. All of it.
all your money. You know what I mean? But I think with Arroyo, you can. It's more. I think it's more you're banking on the traits, right?
Hmm.
You're banking on that he can put those all together and be a serviceable tight end for the Seahawks. And if I share I got something to share. here 1 second. This one. All right. This is career college production versus athleticism, and it takes all the classes from 2015 to 2016. If I am able to scroll in here, not really.
Bad eyes can't see that.
There we go.
There it is. Okay. What
There
does
we go. We got
Ferguson?
we got Ferguson. So we back up a little bit. We have targets. So this is where you guys out of that you would want to select high floor, stay away, banking on upside. Right, so we got a few guys on the banking on upside. Mason Taylor, he's on the banking on upside. Mitchell Evans, banking on upside. Thomas Fadone, banking on upside. For I keep messing that up.
Arroyo.
Arroyo. I'm trying to find him on here. I saw him earlier, and it's going to bother me now. Gunnar Helm. Arroyo. Oh, there we go. He's like in that.
He's
In that.
mid.
He's in that stay away area, but it's like, yeah, he's in the middle basically. If you really want to, he's like in the
If
middle
you
of
draft him, it's a bet on athleticism.
basically, if you really want to put it that way, if you're banking on that his athleticism going to take him where he needs to be, then okay. If you're banking on an offense can scheme him to do, to take advantage of that, cool. But overall, I like, you know, Harold Fannon a little bit better. I like Ferguson better. I like Mason Taylor better. Obviously, these are guys you're taking well before you take yourself Arroyo, but nevertheless, those are my guys. Now, do you have anything before we move on to my Actually, I would have to say my number one most owned tight end currently right now.
No, man. I think we said it all about Arroyo. Just um, I wouldn't be very super aggressive with him. His analytics aren't great, but he's a bet on athleticism, and he's got it in spades. So
Yes, sir.
he's a taxi stash for me, and see what happens.
100%. If I think you throw him in a taxi, and once again, if you go into the season hoping that Arroyo is going to give you high production his rookie year, I think you're misleading yourself, and that's a recipe for doom. Our next prospect, Harold Fannon Jr., my most selected tight end so far in this draft class. He went in the third round, third overall to the Cleveland Browns. I love me some Harold Fannon. Absolutely love me some Harold Fannon. And some people jumped ship after they saw that he ran a 4.71. Me, I didn't give a fuck. I didn't give a guy's name. What I
Don't
because
give a fuck.
not because what I saw on film was a guy that, and our boy Angelo hit it on the head. He said, "Is a guy part of an offense, or is he the offense?" Harold Fannin Jr. was the offense. All right, and he got it done from and true. Listen, if I let me actually before I continue talking, go back to the uh, graph that I just showed on here. For
Hmm.
if you look at targets, the target section, look where Harold Fannin Jr. is compared to production and athleticism. What guys do we see close to Mr. Harold Fannin Jr.? And let's speak on it. What guys do we see next to him? I see a motherfucking Mark Andrews. I see a motherfucking Dallas Goddard. I see a motherfucking Brock Bowers.
Preach.
I'm not saying that Harold Fannin Jr. is Brock Bowers. Absolutely nobody is Brock Bowers. Let's put respect on him. But you cannot discredit what Harold Fannon Jr. was able to do his senior year, and it was video game numbers that Fannon was putting up. And yes, do I don't does he go to a situation year one to where he can give you top 10 production, top 15 production? No, because we have David Njoku, who's the starter right now. But the Cleveland Browns do run a lot of two tight end sets. And,
12,
huh?
12 personnel. Yep.
Yeah, 12, yep, 12 personnel. And then what we saw from Ricky Camp once again, not to throw a lot of eggs and potatoes onto Ricky Camp, but he looked good. The routes that he was running, he was scoring. I saw a touchdown that he was able to have in Ricky Camp. Like you're seeing why he was a productive tight end, and to do that and not be the most athletic tight end at that. I need people to one is like, yes, he ran a 4.71 40, but it's not like Terrence Ferguson ran a 4.64. How much different is a 4.64 to a 4.71? You know what I mean? Like, let's be real. So I like me some Harold Fannin. I think, and that's why he is my number one selected tight end for sure out of this whole draft class. Well, how do you feel before we go more into like the sleepers? Because at this point, I think he's the last of the significant. I don't want to disrespect anybody, but significant tight ends to talk about. We can talk about other sleepers to end off the episode that we've picked up along the way.
I mean, his his numbers last year are just fucking video game. I mean, the dude had 117 catches, 1,555 yards, 10 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
But even his analytical profiles, I mean, he was number one in his position in offense for PFF, number one in receiving grade. He was number one in missed forced tackles. Uh, even another the wide receiver number we look for, yards per route run.
Mm-hmm.
It was a almost Trey Harris type 3.77. Just any way you look at it, you can watch the guy's tape, and he is a fun watch. I mean, that you talking about a football player. I mean, he's a guy that will block two guys on the same play and leak out for a pass, catch the pass, and then make a couple guys miss. I
No.
mean, he's just an excellent football player, and I think he's going to get on the field early and often. Like you said, 12 personnel. I think that team does not have three good receivers that they can put on the field. I think you're looking at Jerry Jeudy, Tillman, and Joku, and Harold Fannon's going to be out there early. And as you can see from his profile, he is just a target magnet. He is the whole offense for Bowling Green. And before people hit me up with that, oh, he played for Bowling Green. He played a bunch of scrubs. He fucking murdered Penn State.
Yeah.
Penn State, who had the top 3 draft pick taking on defense. So y'all can get out my face with that Bowling
He
Green
said,
shit.
y'all can shut that ass
He
up.
fucking kicked the ass of anybody you put in front of me. And maybe the most impressive thing that he's done is he wasn't scared to run the agility
He
grill.
ain't no bitch.
76 percentile. He ain't no bitch. He said, "Fuck y'all. I'm running the agility grills. All y'all scary guys that can't wiggle. I could wiggle it a little bit." 76 percentile agility score. He might not be the fastest in a straight line, but he can move it
He can move.
sideways and front ways, any which way. He's a joystick, and he's a joy to watch, man. Get you some Harold Fannin, my guy, the smartest, besides you, my boy, the smartest football guy, film watcher I know. He did the craziest shit I ever seen. This motherfucker traded for the 3.1 for the right to take Harold Fannon Jr. And you know what he gave up? 2026 first round.
Oh hell no!
Preach on that shit.
That's how you. I mean, hey, that's how you know
I
you.
wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, but
Mm.
it just goes to show you, man. This guy's profile is just amazing. And before you think, oh, he's in a bad situation, Njoku could be traded. Like
Njoku gets
honestly,
hurt.
Njoku could get traded. He could get hurt. He could get supplanted by Harold Fannin. That's how good Harold Fannin is.
Yeah.
But Harold Fannin, I promise you, just on the strength of his football acumen, he will get targets in year one. You can write that shit and print it right now.
Write that shit, write it down. You know what I'm saying? Fourth and fantasy going on a limb here in front and won't be a motherfucking dog. No pun intended. You know what I'm saying? Now, we're coming to the end of the episode. Once again, thank you all for tapping in with us. We're going to give you some sleepers that we've been able to pick up on waivers, and most of these
Mm-hmm.
guys are always on waivers. They're probably still on waivers right now. You can go get them, and you won't have to spend a zip of fab. I promise you. Thomas Fadone went to the New York Giants in the seventh round, third overall. And he is someone who, if we're looking at athleticism, he might just take number one. If I don't, are you able to pull up his player profile?
Already.
Uh, oh damn! Look at that! That boy quick with it. Stop playing with
Ah,
Rocco. Stop
now I
playing.
got three screens. You can't fuck with me.
Stop playing with that boy. He had one of the highest burst scores out of all tight ends, agility scores out of all tight ends, and then he has one of the craziest catch radiuses for tight ends. We got to put in perspective, I think, where he is a seventh rounder, so I don't have high expectations for him, but it's also a tight end room that doesn't really have an established starter. Theo Johnson was coming off of injury as of last year, still waiting to see how he comes back. But Thomas Fadone is another guy that we're looking at fourth and fantasy that could potentially see himself having a role all year one. Rocco, do you have are there any other guys that you have selected? If not, I have some other in the bag to give the audience.
Yeah, I like Fendone. I was looking for first guy to kind of put me on Fedoni, or Fedone, how do you say it?
Down.
Yeah, yeah, my guy was actually Debro. He had a he had like a 2 o'clock uh tweet X whatever you call it,
Mm-hmm.
kind of singing the praises of Fedone. I was like, my boy out here grinding tape 2 a.m. in the morning. He said he couldn't go to sleep. He got to Fadone's film. But he's another guy that ain't scared to run the agilities, and that's if you look at his agility score, it's pretty high up there. And he went to the Giants, correct?
Yes, he went to the Giants, and one of the things that
Wide
was,
wide open room. He can latch on there.
and one of the things that was very heavily talked about Thomas Padone was his hand size. It is, I think he had a
No Diddy.
pause. I had to put it out there. His hand size is in the 97th percentile among all ball carriers. 97th percentile. And then we're talking about 95th percentile among all athletes. That is those are a pretty good sized hands to go along with 34-inch arms. He's a pretty big guy. And now he isn't the most technical, right? He isn't the most
Hmm.
fluid. He looks a little robust when he's out there running routes, but I still think he could end up being some of value. You know, like you said, it's not a really stacked tight end room in New York, so I think he could easily end up being one of those guys that ends up being more serviceable in his rookie year than where you're able to pick him up. I would run and actually go pick up Thomas Fadone right now on waivers for $0 just to have him on stash, just to have him on taxi. He's not someone that you know what I'm saying, need to spend any type of money on. Another person that I have picked up quite a few
Mm-hmm.
in leagues is Jalen Conyers. I believe that's how you say his name. Out of Texas Tech, and how I found out about our guy Jalen was when I was looking at Taj Brooks highlights and clips and film, and you know you just see he's a pretty good, solid guy. He's in that realm of guys who converted positions. He was a high school quarterback as a freshman and sophomore, but he's his athleticism. I'm another one of those guys. Athleticism are legit. You feel me? I like he at his size with the athleticism combo, 6'3", like 263 pounds. He he's played a little bit of wildcat, done some
Mm-hmm.
direct snaps. Like he's such a fun football player. He just that's how you really describe Conyers. He's a football player. He went to the Miami Dolphins. That's another tight end room that I feel like it's open. Or I won't say it's open because you do have Janu Smith, so he is the starter there. But
John Newton, my guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
John Lou Smith, top guy, well, one of the more productive guys in the last 2 years in the NFL. Whenever they move on from John Lou Smith, I could see Jalen Conyers being very much a role player in this offense, and that's how much I like him. Another guy that you can
I got some hard hitting analysis on him.
yes, let's lay it on us.
Number one in the 2025 class athleticism. That's all I know. That's all I know. Move on.
That's all I needed to know, baby.
That's all you need to know.
And I keep having to show this chart, but I also feel like it serves a good point of where it gives you a good picture of where these guys are. And in the targets area, once again, this is college production versus athleticism. Where do we see Jalen Conyers? That's all I'm going to say. That's all he's in. He's in that right section that we want to be in. Whether he's around T.J. Hawkinson, he's Pat Firemoose is in that area. Uh, Another guy that I'm just going to keep this actual. I'm going to keep this chart up for all of us because the two next guys for us to wrap up the episode that we're speak on is Oronde Gatson the
Hmm.
second. His father actually played in the NFL, so we got NFL pedigree here. He is another guy. He's going to be behind Conklin, who is one of my sleepers at the tight end position in LA, but for the Chargers. But Oronde could end up being one of the steals of any rookie draft or waivers if he makes it there. Oronde as a receiver, I would put in the top 5 round. It's just that he's not a great blocker. So
Hmm. Hmm.
what the Chargers want to do, which is run, he doesn't block very well. But for a man who had over 900 receiving yards last year, he's going to find himself a role
Hmm.
in LA. They're going to find a way to get him on the field. And he comes from a whole, like hardball. They also use a lot of two tight end sets. Um, they use Smart Stone. I always get his first and last name mixed up. Either Stone Smart or Smart Stone, whatever.
He
Uh,
might as well go get stoned because he's new. Got it.
yeah, he's out of there. He's not even on the team. But Aronde could come on here and be tight end too. He could easily battle for tight end too, and we could
Hmm.
see by the end of year one him pushing for or going into that year two pushing for a tight end one type of shares.
Yeah. I, I'll tell you what I like about Aronde Gatson. What I like about Aronde Gatson is Will Disley was a thing in a hot waiver wire pickup last year. Why? Because Justin Herbert, he loves
Yep.
to target the tight ends, and that's one of the reasons why Tyler Conklin is a sneaky stash for me. He's a guy that's, Conklin is a guy that's had 500 yards multiple times for the Jets, and the Jets are a shit team, and to do anything for that squad outside of Garrett Wilson is just, it's a signal that you can do better things on better teams. But my guy, Aronde Gadsden,
Mhm.
he was drafted in the fifth round, so he doesn't have much draft capital behind him. But what he did do is he put up 969 yards as a sophomore to go along with 6 touchdowns. Um, didn't do much as a freshman. He looks like he was sidelined as a freshman.
Mhm.
2023, it looks like he was hurt. He only played 2 games. But in 2024, he came back and basically did the same thing with 922 yards. So he has 200, not two 900 yard seasons in his 4 year career. Um, sandwiched by years where he was a freshman and hurt. So, you could probably make the case that he would have had basically 900 yards for his entire career if he had stayed healthy. 6 touchdowns and 7 touchdowns. So, yeah, he's a guy that I am perfectly fine with. Um, I'm perfectly fine with taking him after draft because I haven't seen a draft where he's actually been drafted inside the top 4 rounds. So he's definitely a great stash to
Agreed.
have, and he's above average in most of the athleticism scores. We're not going to talk about how he was kind of scary on agility, but he does have a great college dominator. So he was a big part of the Syracuse offense when he was there. He has a age 19 breakout age, which goes hand in hand with those big time numbers you saw as a sophomore. So he is definitely one of the better after draft waiver wire runs. So yeah, I would definitely be aggressive in getting Aronde Gadsden on your taxi squad.
Yeah, I would. I would even say he's worth a late in that fourth round. He's worth a shot at. And if you have 5 rounds in a rookie draft, you're a criminal. But he's even more worth a a dart throw in the fifth round if you have him. If you do,
I,
you
I'm
worry about
smash. I'm smashing running back. Sorry,
it.
that's running back smash them for me. But on waivers, it's a wild west. I'm going for whoever looks like they have talent and has opportunity.
And that are our tight ends and our reactions of what, kind of just our overall view of what they can do in their year one rookie year, short term, long term, their overall landscape on their team and what they can do. We even gave
Yeah,
y'all some sleepers that are on, I could almost 95% guarantee they're on waiver.
with what I found going through this whole exercise, looking at the positional groups, is this draft was billed as a transformative running back class, but this draft, outside of quarterbacks, which we know they're shit, this draft has a lot of great receivers in it, and this draft has the potential to be a really, really nice tight end class as well. You got 2 guys at the top, but you got a bunch of second round picks that could smash for their respective team.
Yeah, I agree. And that is today's episode, which was brought to you by Fast Draft, the fastest basketball game out there. If you love fantasy sports, you got to check it out. In the left hand corner, that is the QR code to the website where you can download the app, whether you have an Android, whether you have an Apple device. They work with all of you. And then you can hop in. They're giving away 2500,000 in cash prizes, no matter if you're doing a all rookie tournament, an all flex tournament, or an all defense tournament. Go get you some money using our promo code fourth. They will double your first deposit up to $50. I repeat, using or both, they will double your first deposit up to $50. Visit Fast Draft and get your ass in the game, baby.
Get in there.
And that is our episode. This has been Fourth in Fantasy, your fantasy play, but to Dynasty wins. My name is Hancho. This is my guy.
Rocco.
And this is Fourth in Fantasy. Thank you all for another wonderful episode. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy time with the family. Go relax. Do something. But you can't stay here. Catch y'all next time.